This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the #1 online art school. Check the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey Naps of After Hours podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for animation.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Today we're going to talk about what happens when you drink the Hollywood Koolaid.
Yeah, we're going to go from the beginning to the end and show you how fame and power
It changes people. I guess we're going to go into the Wayback Machine, back to when we're college, basically, to really understand where we're coming from, I guess.
Yeah. And because, we all are young, aspiring artists at one point, and we have these big dreams of making it. For me, it was to prove people wrong that I could make it. And for you, it was more like an innocent, dream.
Yeah, I wanted to make a living drawing.
Yeah.
And that was my standard.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's standard when they go to college, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I guess I'll start. So I got into Art Center in 2009, right? And at that time, I'd just been drawing whatever I liked, like video game characters and just making my own characters and scenes and things like that. So I got into art school and I got really, 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 really into illustration. I think I talked in previous podcasts before about how I really loved my inking illustration classes, my painting illustration classes. I loved my illustration classes, and at that school, that's basically the start of your curriculum. You do a lot of foundational stuff. You don't touch digital, at least as far as our training went. I don't know how it is now.
Yeah.
But when we started out, it was all traditional first. So that was a really exciting time. And I got to meet teachers who did all sorts of things with art. At the time, I knew about, jobs at Pixar and DreamWorks. I really, obviously I grew up with Pixar versus DreamWorks and Shrek versus Toy Story and all this stuff. We came up at a really neat time when animation, especially in movies, was doing really neat. And while all that was happening, I was witnessing other artists, some of our teachers, do editorial. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting job. And then some of them doing getting commissioned to do jobs from history museums and things like that. And I'm like, oh wow, there's so much shit I could do with my art. I could do a lot of stuff, and it really opened up the possibilities. So when I was taking these foundational classes, I was really exposed to a lot of stuff that I haven't thought about before. Yeah. So I became, I really, really thought, especially after the first term of school, I really thought I was going to be a comic book artist or some form of illustrator. I really, really thought it. But it wasn't until I had my first animation-centric class in, I guess, second term that I was just head over heels, and I just fell in love with that instead. Man, I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm thinking about why is that? Why I was so into the idea of being an illustrator, because it really felt like I can make a living out of expressing myself, instead of just designing something for somebody else. But I guess some of it was getting sheets of, whatever it is, character designs and sets and all sorts of stuff. Biscuits going crazy. Sets and all sorts of stuff from Disney and Shrek and all of these production design stuff that our teachers would give us. And that was really inspiring to see, leafing through these pieces of paper and seeing drawings from Tarzan and stuff. And it's just wow, that is beautiful, awesome stuff. And obviously growing up with these types of cartoons, obviously I was super enamored by it. I was man, I can make a living doing this shit that I that I've seen all of my life, that I've watched in theaters with my family and my friends. I could actually take part in this, and maybe my credit, and then you go through the whole pantheon of possibilities of like, oh, my name will probably scroll up in the credits, and I probably have like I don't know, maybe like awards or something, and I'll go to big swanky like Hollywood events and stuff, and like, you know, I'm 19.
Yeah.
I'm 19 years old, and all of this stuff is just like all of these ideas and like just all this is filling my head, and I'm not sure if that was like the initial snake bite of venom or whatever it is, but I still do. I love that kind of stuff. I was raised here, and though I know like all of it is all smoke and mirrors, I want to be behind the smoke and mirrors. Come on. So I get is that a good enough answer?
Yeah. For me, like I said before, I think I went into college wanting to do game art, and quickly realized that I don't want to do game art because the styles at the time, and still are, you're required to be very good at photo bashing, which is just manipulating photos in Photoshop really, really well to make these amazing environmental visual development pieces for video games. And I looked at that very quickly, or like my first term, I knew, that was a bad choice on my decision to think that I wanted to do that. But I knew I wanted to do something related to that. And I knew that I wanted to do something in the arts. So since our first year in school is all about foundational stuff, I really did not think too hard, I always knew I was going to do something commercial and in entertainment, because in my mind, even then, I felt like it's only practical. It's only the only jobs that I could see and know of was in commercial arts, something in entertainment. And I knew like that's where the money is, so I'll just follow the money and I'll get good at drawing and painting and doing everything for that end, whatever that end is. And so I was pretty open-minded, I think, except that I had like you talked about the editorial illustrators and the more fine arts illustrators. I had absolutely no interest in doing that because I thought like if I took that route, I would be a starving artist, which I don't think is the case, but it was just my assumption.
That's a lot of people's assumption, I think, too.
Yeah, because I think no one in those fields could give me a good enough answer of what jobs are out there for me. Because when you're doing the more editorial stuff and the more fine art stuff, I think what it should be called is like art entrepreneurship. Because you are more, the reason why people can't really give you a definitive answer of what they do and how they make money is
because they work for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, interesting.
So it's harder. Like some fine artists might end up being gallery artists, while some might be more like they open their own little studio and whatever. And editorial artists, they're basically freelancers. So they can't tell you exactly. Like some might do children's books, some might do books covers, and some might do advertisement, or some might do mural work. So it's not like a clear answer any one of them can give you. Meanwhile, all the entertainment teachers were like, well, it's simple. You work for Disney or DreamWorks or these big companies. They hire you to do the job. And you get paid for that. And that's so much simpler to understand. So it's also so much simpler to pitch that to your parents. Yeah.
Especially if you're like us, straight out of high school.
Yeah.
Like literally only had like a break, like a little tiny summer break in between. And then we thought this was what we needed to do. And then I think a lot of students especially want to use that to convince their parents that this is a legitimate job, you know?
Yeah. There's like a steady income potentially on the horizon if you work hard and you make the right connections and all these things. So,
also, it allows the parents to tell their friends and family, oh, yeah, my daughter's studying so that she could work in DreamWorks. You know Shrek? My daughter could be working on the next Shrek.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of like bragging rights for your parents, not
for you.
Yeah, not for you.
No.
But they still don't really know it. They just know you work at this big fancy company.
Yeah.
So for me, another reason why I gravitated towards entertainment arts was definitely an aspect of control and power. Because we were taught first to be Viz Dev artists because that's what our school is kind of more suited to. I don't know about now. I don't know how the curriculum has changed, but at the time, I was like experimenting, like, do I want to be a character designer? Do I want to be a background painter? Do I want to be a background designer? What job suits me? So the ones I just named were like the ones that were most pushed to us. And then I took a storyboarding class, and then I realized, oh, I want to be a storyboard artist because the way it was explained to me was like you can. There are two routes. There's like the typical Hollywood director who just does their job and goes home and that's whatever. And then there's the auteur where you are like you have all this creative control. You write your scripts, you do everything, and this becomes your like baby, your movie, and everything is like more, in a way, more personal and more artful, and you get some aspect of. It was the control that I liked. Not like when I say power, I'm like, I don't want power over people. I just wanted like control over this thing because I went to art school because I wanted to make a difference in the world with my art because that's what I was good at. If I could be a neurosurgeon, I'd make a difference in the world by doing that. But I wanted to make a difference in the world. I wanted my art to have meaning and to do something great one day. And that the allure of becoming a director one day to be able to do that was really what I was after. Not necessarily like fame and fortune, which is hilarious because it seems like that's what it ends up being.
Right.
But at the time, we also had a lot of classmates, and it's interesting now that we work together. The ones that made it with us, we all kind of like work in like occasionally we'll be on the same show together.
Yeah, we'll see each other often.
Yeah.
Whether it's just how it is. It's that small.
Yeah. And it's kind of really disorienting for me to know who they were when they were students, classmates, and we were like in the dirt,
in the trenches
together.
Yeah, sleepless nights.
Yeah, and how they are now. People change.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of reasons why, which we'll get into. But so like we've seen friendships break up, people become completely different people.
So I've been listening to It's Not My Cross to Bear by Greg Allman from the Allman Brothers for a second time, and I'm enjoying it just as much as the first time. The Allman Brothers, legendary, rock band from way back then, probably your parents' era. And Greg Allman was the singer for that band, and his brother was the legendary guitarist Dwayne Allman, who, as you can see back there, the Layla album, Dwayne Allman helped Eric Clapton record this album for Patty Boyd because Eric was so whipped for Patty and really wanted to steal her away from George Harrison. But that's neither here nor there. It's Not My Cross to Bear is a fantastic story about the legendary Allman Brothers. And if you're an artist in animation, if you're like an independent artist, if you're a filmmaker, whatever, it's really neat to listen to other artists talk about their craft and their journey. So I highly recommend It's Not My Cross to Bear by Greg Allman from the Allman Brothers.
And if you want to listen to that audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. There's a link down below where you will get 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible original audiobooks. And it helps this channel out at no extra cost to you. So yeah, audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. So there's this weird thing that happens, at least when we were going through school, that people start banding together and becoming friends.
Oh,
but then there are usually like trios.
Right. Trios.
Yeah.
Trios. We've seen 2 trios come up in our time.
Yeah.
And
they're very good. They bring each other up together. Usually there's one person who's like really, really extraordinarily good, and then the other friends are good, but they're not quite as good.
right.
But they all work together. They do all their homework together. They're like the best of friends. You will never see them not together. Whenever you see them, they are together eating lunch or walking down the halls or whatever. They're like good friends. And slowly, like these friendships happen like the minute you get into school.
Right.
Everyone starts like linking up.
Right. Alliances are formed.
Yeah.
It's almost like, a game show. At a certain point.
Yeah.
It's like, how Survivor or whatever it is, reality TV, where people feel like, especially the smartest ones, know that like they're better off together.
Yeah.
Than alone.
Yeah. And college is usually 4 to 5 years, depending. Slowly through the 4 to 5 years, things start to change.
Yeah. It's almost like the strongest person out of the trio leaves when they find the other 2 not useful anymore.
I know.
It's really
and it's like, you think we're like just talking about one. No, I'm talking we've seen this happen several times between different groups of friends.
Yeah.
And it always happens like that, where like one person is starting to get a lot more recognition than the others. Yeah. And then that person leaves the other 2.
There's only Beyonce.
Yeah.
There's only Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just like that.
Yeah.
It's just one of those types of stories. I don't know how else to say it. You've seen it before.
Yeah.
And you see it, but you see it in fiction all the time. But then, like, when you see it play out in real life, it's like, Jesus.
Yeah. It's kind of
how much of a cliche is everybody?
Yeah. And it kind of culminates in like usually an epic, super competitive grad show.
Yeah. Where like it does, like all bets are off. It doesn't matter like what alliances were formed before. It all culminates to this one moment, and then people can just like twist the knife if they want to.
Like there's some drama goes down when people start graduating. So if it's a good class of not so competitive people, it might be fine and peaceful.
I think my class was fine.
Yeah.
I
think so.
Yeah. My class was fine. I really think that the people I came up with, I'm not even just saying that. I know I work for Hollywood, guys. I know. Yeah. But like I really mean it when I say I did come up with people that I really like and I care about.
Yeah. I think the stress of wanting to find a job and knowing that you're with your competitors and everything makes you behave like a crazy person.
Yeah, and and it sucks. It's unfortunate that like these major decisions, like I said, like people make these split decisions at the very last moment, and that are like, out of their character. And it's like, why? Because they're tired. Yeah. Because like they're stressed out, because they're not sure. Like everybody, this is the unspoken thing when you're about to graduate. Everyone is afraid of if they'll be able to do this, if they'll be able to perform, like where their paycheck is going to come, how they're going to pay off for all their loans, all that kind of stuff. Like everyone's afraid, but everyone's trying their best to put on a face and finish strong. And sometimes people crack, and that's that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's just that's what happens. And
I've seen people do a lot of crazy things in order to get ahead, even if just for a little bit. And because at least for us, that day is sold to us like recruiting day.
Right.
Like this is do or die. This is
sink or swim.
The minute where I get recruited and hired, which is not the case at all. No.
But it feels that way. It feels like if you don't nail this, and don't make the connections you're gonna make, like ideally you assume that through this day, through this short 3-hour window, you will obtain all the connections you need to survive for the rest of your career. And even though that sounds batshit loony,
you believe it.
You believe it.
Yeah, that's because that's what the school sells to you.
Yeah.
They call it recruiting day for a reason. And you think the way the teachers explain it to you is like, oh, so and so is coming from Disney, or DreamWorks is coming.
This person from Pixar's over there. Come on, you gotta bump shoulders with this person. And you're like, I've never done this before, but here we go. And it's just like,
and you really think like
you've seen people in bars or at least in social gatherings crash and burn when they're kind of making a move. That happens. That happens.
Yes.
In these grad shows sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, we didn't pay $200,000 to fucking play American Idol here, guys.
Yeah, or Survivor.
Yeah. Like, what is this?
And it like, so I don't know if this is the case for other colleges, but there's like internal politics about who gets what spot in when you're graduating, because we're assigned gallery space or like space, and the way our school was, you come in from one direction and you leave from the other, which means if you're at the back, you're at the end, and if you're at the front, you're the first impression.
Yeah.
So internally, the teachers, the school wants to look as best as they can in front of, these people coming to visit their school for whatever reason. You can come up with those reasons on your own. So depending on who is department chair, who has that power, they get to decide which one of your class gets the most potential to get hired and who they think is hopeless.
Oh my God.
Basically. And everyone knows this by the time you're graduating, and no one talks about it. And I don't know why no one talks about it, but it's very clear the favorites of the class or the teachers' biases. Like we talked about how some teachers are biased to certain styles or certain kinds of art. They will push certain people to the front, and the people who think they are not going to get hired are pushed to the back.
Right, and look at it from an advertising perspective for a second and think about like, oh, they obviously want to just like, like a portfolio, show their best work first, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just that you have no choice or say in that matter except for doing your damnness to make yourself look good.
Yeah.
Or at least making yourself look good for the school.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit different now because the school has gotten so big, and they had to rent out like gallery space.
I think it's a lot better now.
Yeah.
The setup that they have now, because it's more open.
Yeah.
Instead of people kind of just walking in one direction and you never see them again, people are allowed to linger, which is nice.
And what the messed up thing was when we were going to school, and it was like that, was the recruiters and the studios start to put this together in their mind too, that the best of the best are at the front and the worst are at the back, which is completely untrue.
That's not true. There's a dude who made a whole video game in the back there. Yeah. I think that's more impressive than anything I've ever seen on graduate.
Exactly. Like he made a video game. Like you can walk up to his
and play it.
Yeah.
Like it was a top-down, like Zelda-like, I think, kind of game.
But still, like he animated it. He designed it
from top to bottom,
and he was put in the back because
next to the bathroom
of biases.
Yeah. Bullshit. It's all bullshit.
It's completely bullshit. Yeah. And for me at the time, I think it's definitely different now, but because I was a focus in storyboarding, the school had a very low opinion of storyboard art because they didn't understand that that's a job for some reason. So they thought I was unhireable and put me in the back. I was one of the first people to get hired.
Not sure
Yeah.
about that, but
Yeah.
I think it's another thing about advertising where it's just like, it's more impressive to see somebody's paintings
Then
rather than
boards.
somebody's boards, which
Yeah.
are just like rough drawings.
Yeah.
Obviously to me, I really appreciate, I can appreciate both, but what's sexier, you know?
Yeah. Paintings.
Yeah.
Beautiful, giant
beautiful
paintings.
Yeah.
Viz dev paintings that most of the time you're not even really doing all that much when you're working. And yeah, so the awful part is like, whether or not that's true or not, where it's subjective whether you're good enough to be in the front or in the back, whatever. The recruiters start putting two and two together, and they start assuming that too. Especially if like year after year, it seems like the more competent people are in the front and the less competent or just different people like out of the mold or in the back. So what ends up happening during grad show is you if you're in the back, you witness this, and I witness this. I watch important people take their time with like the first three people.
Important people, like what kind of important people?
Like recruiters.
I see.
Like
Okay.
people who are actually hiring.
Right.
They'll take their time and flip through like the first three people's portfolio pieces, and then they leave. They completely ignore everyone else. They don't look at their walls even. They don't even look at their walls. That's how much they're assuming that these people are not worth my time. And they don't even bother, and it's so sad because if you have this happen to you 10 times, there are some people who will be like, okay, I need to stop them. So they'll like try to get their attention somehow, like, hi, and like stick out their arm as they're walking down the hallway to block their way and force them to take it in order to pull them into their and I watch the recruiters kind of look annoyed and go like like flipping through the portfolio, still not really looking at it, just
Right.
like I'm trying to get to another grad show.
And a lot of the times too, the saddest part is that like I've seen like industry artists do this to artists too.
Yeah.
And it's really upsetting. It's just like, wait a second, do you not remember what it's like to be us?
Yeah.
You know, has this whole thing changed you? Like I've seen like big major artists like blow off people, like
Yeah.
talk to me and give me time.
Yeah.
And then I look, and then like I kind of sigh a great relief,
Once
and then they
like,
disappear.
they didn't talk to anyone else.
I know. I'm like, what the? Like, where did they go? And I'm like thinking, like, oh, wait a second here, and then everything you said, it's just
Yeah.
like, it's exactly like that.
Fast forward to, we are working professionals now, and we went like. We went out to eat, and I told you it's grad show today. Do you want to go? And then you're like, oh yeah, let's go.
Oh, when we graduated recently?
Well, after we graduated and we got hired.
Oh, right. Okay. So after we graduated, this is gonna make me look so bad, but I don't really care.
Yeah. But this is how industry people see you guys who are graduating.
I mean,
To be honest.
I guess.
Yeah, this is their motivations. If we want to like peel back the curtain of like why, like there are the recruiters and then there are the industry professionals who we're not hiring. Like when you're just I was a revisionist, or if you're just a board art, you're not hiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reasons why they go to grad show and to look at your work. So like we went and you were like, oh, let's like, since now we're working in the industry, let's like wear all our industry garb.
And it's just like, I don't know. I just wanted to see what it like. Honestly, I just wanted to see what it was like on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were moments when I was graduating where I was like, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to be honest with myself, or maybe I'm being too harsh on myself. But like obviously, I thought all the time, especially when I was graduating, like I'm scared. Like I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or not. And I'm thinking about it right now. Like I had to have this like careless bravado and like I just had to push all those thoughts away to just perform and graduate.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to be on the other side. So I was like, hey babe, I'm gonna wear my studio shit, and how about you wear your stuff, and then we'll do the whole thing where we talk and converse to people.
Yeah.
And then so we go, and then I couldn't help but like see myself on the other side.
Yeah.
And then think that I have nothing except like the small connections that I do have. And we did give out as many as we could.
Yeah, many emails
as we could to help them out. But at the same time, obviously I went there for like purely selfish reasons.
Yeah.
But I felt gross. I felt disgusting.
Yeah.
I felt like here I am in my position looking at all these kids with the same fears that I had. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
And then soon it became like I want to like flex or whatever it is to, oh my God, I need to help as many of these kids as I can. Yeah. So like we gave as many connections connections as we could. But then like that was the last time we went to grad show like that.
Yeah, every other time.
We go to grad show frequently, but we always just go t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah, like, we try to be as anonymous as possible. But yeah, so.
But yeah, honestly, like I really felt gross.
Yeah.
And that was another like thing of like checking myself and going like, why am I, and why are other people? And then I go like, this is, I don't want to participate in this. Yeah. I'm not a fan of this.
So
this isn't for me.
Yeah. So what we did, we put on, like, every studio has their studio jacket. Like I had at the time, I had my DreamWorks jacket, and you had your, whatever studio.
I had my hat and my jacket.
And I remember you telling me, wear your badge, wear it like really obviously, like on your pants and stuff. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but okay. I'll do it. You know best. And we show up and we have to sign in. And it doesn't help that when you sign in, they give you a little name tag. Right. And they ask you, what studio do you represent? What's your name? Right. What do you do? And I didn't know that, like, when they ask you that, it's because they're writing it down on a name tag that you were forced to put on your body for everyone to see. And if you're alumni, you can just say alumni so that you're kind of anonymous. But so that first time, we told them what we did, what studio we worked at or whatever. So it was very clear to everyone, like, oh, this is a person from DreamWorks. And as we were walking down the hall, it's different when you're anonymous, the way people look at you, and when you're announcing to the world who you are and you're kind of important.
Right.
Barely important, but
explain.
So students will look at us with these hopeful eyes, these like, please talk to me, because I think you're gonna have a job and you're gonna be the person that's gonna hire me because you looked at my grad show wall. And that's heartbreaking to walk down the hall and to know exactly what it feels like to be in that position and to be like, all these recruiters are blowing you off. Right. Meanwhile, there's this person, this asshole from DreamWorks with her fucking DreamWorks jacket and badge, and oh, she's so important. Walk by, and you're just so desperate for her to notice you, and like you see all of that on their faces. To pretend like you don't is you're just being an asshole. Like you see it in their eyes, their desperation, like they're filled with so much fear and hope and so much that night. And so we would, we went from like, oh, I'm gonna show off that I'm an alumni, that I did it. Yeah. I made it. Yeah. And you realize this night is not about you, but you're not we see our peers. Like when we go, we see our peers do the exact same thing, with their Disney badge, with their jackets, with their hats and whatever, and we know they're not hiring. They're in no position to hire. And we go, hey, haven't seen you in like a year, haven't talked to you in so long, and we talk and we chat, we catch up, and like again, we look like the idiots, the assholes who are like in the corner. Oh, look at those industry professionals chatting it up with each other. I want to be them one day.
We're talking about absolutely nothing.
Yeah, we're not talking about anything of importance. We're just like, oh, haven't seen you in a while. Haven't seen you in a while. How's so-and-so doing? Good. And
then you think it's like, oh, they're talking about Dragons 5. It's going to be, oh my God.
And
maybe I should listen. Maybe like Hiccup has kids. I don't know.
and you realize, like, oh, I feel bad. I feel bad for doing this to them. The people I went to school with don't. They're coming here, and you watch some of these people, and they love it. They love this, like. One of the other reasons why I don't do it too is because I genuinely want to make friends, connections with younger artists and people who I think are super talented. And
we're also at a point in our lives where we just want to spend time with people we really like and care about.
Yeah.
Like that's genuinely, like if we're going to go out of our way, because we're such homebodies.
Yeah.
You and I are such homebodies.
Yeah.
If we're going to go out of our way just to see you, it means we really love and care about you.
Yeah.
You know?
And that can't happen when someone idolizes you.
Right.
When you wear your garb, your industry garb, and they're looking at you with these eyes, they don't treat you like an equal. They treat you like a superior. They treat you like an idol in a way. And I realize, like, I don't like that. Like, I don't want that, because that's not what I'm here to do. I actually want to make connections with you. I think your art is cool, whatever. But if I'm wearing all this stuff, that's never going to happen. You're always going to see me as either a connection that can somehow get you a job one day, or, I don't know, someone to look up to. And that's not, we're equals. I'm not better than you. Even though you think, like, when you're graduating, you look at these industries, you think they're better than you.
It's so unattainable. Like, like a lot of us haven't even like really made a substantial paycheck with art at all. And it's just like we're gambling with the skills that we've acquired to hopefully get a job. And you see all these people who have jobs and you think like they must have something I don't have.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times you have the same tools.
Yeah.
Like you really do.
You just,
especially if you graduated from an art school.
Yeah.
Like really.
Yeah. You just had more time.
Yeah.
To like go after it. I don't know. But I saw that in myself, and we decided to not do that ever again. To not show up to these things with all our industry garb or whatever. And but I did consistently see peers, other people that we've met in the industry, whatever, do that, and they don't have the same reaction. They're not like, oh, I feel disgusting, I feel slimy and gross, like, who am I to use this moment to stroke my own ego? But other people, they do like using that moment to stroke their own ego. And people that we know, and people that weren't like that before. And, you know, at the same time, like, I don't blame them, because now I'm going to get into, like, studio bribes.
Okay.
And I don't mean bribes like actual bribes. I mean, like, I think getting into Hollywood is like getting into a fraternity. And it's notoriously hard because a lot of it has nothing to do with merit, and it has everything to do about whose uncle do you know, who recommended you, whatever.
Which school are you from?
Yeah. Even that, not necessarily. But so you like claw your way in. You really like fight off your competitors, and you finally, like, you went through art school maybe, or you made all these connections, and you worked your butt off for, like, who knows how long it took you to get in, and you get in, and you finally have the thing that you want, and you get free lunches, and every once in a while you get like a statue. You've been working in the studio for a year, you get a statue, or you randomly get a t-shirt. For some reason, they give you a t-shirt, And you don't put two and two together. And you
More
don't.
More
recently, Vincent got a package in the mail.
I did.
From the company he works for.
Yes, I did.
And it had like a little like bandana, for social distancing.
I was so smitten.
You were like
with this bandana.
Free stuff. So when you start working or whatever, you get a lot of swag, I guess.
Yeah.
And I call it junk because I'm a little bit of a minimalist and I don't need all this stuff. But they give you a lot.
Oh, by the way, all this stuff is my stuff.
Oh yeah, all this stuff you see in the background or anything really you see in our vlogs or whatever.
Mostly my stuff.
Mostly, like, I don't have things. Yeah. And once you got hazed basically by it's so hard to get into this fraternity that is Hollywood, and then you get all this cool free stuff which you don't like. So I have a story. At Disney, I was. They're having some kind of like town hall, update everyone in the company, and then they announced, "Oh, we are bringing back the anniversary jacket, the Letterman jacket. That whenever you hit your 1 year mark at Disney, you're gonna get this like cool jacket. It's like a North Face jacket. I don't know if anyone wants." Yeah.
Pause. Footnote. I went to my very, very first Animation Guild party.
Oh, God.
I think when I was about to graduate, this dude I was working for basically helped me get in.
Yeah.
And then I saw all the DreamWorks TV people with like these amazing
Disney
TV? Disney TV, like varsity jackets, like high school grade Letterman jackets,
like football player, like
football with the collars and the silver buttons
Yeah.
and the stripes on the collars and everything. It looked amazing.
Yeah.
And then all I could think of was just like, hell or high water, I need to get that jacket. And I will keep it in a very, very, very special place wherever I live in the future. But I must have that jacket. So continue. What kind of jacket did they get you this time?
Oh, well, so since then, that time you went to the guild party,
right.
They got rid of it. Honestly, I think for budget cuts. What budget cut? They're $1 billion company. But they got rid of it. So like by the time I got there, it wasn't a thing. But when this town hall meeting was happening, they announced they're bringing it back. And I told you over text, they're bringing it back.
And I was freaking out. I was like, you need to get two somehow.
Oh my God. So like I go.
We're being absolutely honest, guys. Like nobody is going to tell you and be as honest as we are right now. So enjoy. But I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was going to be the jacket that I thought it was
Yeah.
gonna be.
And I've never seen this jacket before, so I had no idea what you're talking about, but you explained it to me, so I was really excited. I was like, oh, sweet. This like really high quality like jacket. Finally, the studio shows me how much they care about me. So we go to the like place where they were distributing these jackets, and I get it. Like I see it's like this black looking stack of clothing, and they hand it to me, and then I open it, I tear it open, and I put it on, and it says like North Face on like the side, and it's totally not a Letterman jacket. It's not that kind of quality at all.
A windbreaker?
It's kind of a windbreaker at the end of the day. And then in really, 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 really tiny font on like the front, I think it says like Disney. And it's just this all black jacket. It doesn't stick out. It's not like super high quality, whatever. And then I was like, oh, is this what Vincent was telling me about? So I bring it home, and he's like,
and I was like, what is
this? This is not the anniversary jacket that you remember.
No, absolutely not.
Oh my God. And I've been thinking about like putting all my like animation garb on eBay and selling it because I want to burn it all. But
you'd rather make money on it.
Yeah. So the thing that I think I I haven't said yet is, why did they decide to give that to us right in that moment? Because around that time, Netflix was poaching a lot of people from all the other studios. There's actually a graph that shows like everyone leaving all the studios and going to Netflix.
It was amazing.
And at the time, Disney said like their main goal for in terms of like recruitment and all of that stuff was to retain talent. What helps you, like literally in the same meeting? And I was like, oh, okay. So every time these studios give you anything, they want something in return from you right in that moment. You might not know exactly what it was, but in that moment I was like, oh, you're trying to make us happy so we don't leave. So we don't you lose us to Netflix or whatever. And then I was every single time I've been given anything from the studios, it's because they want something from me. Whether it's some work overtime or whatever, those are what I call the bribes. And you know, you work so hard to get into this industry, and then you're getting all these things which you think are like, oh, because the company cares about you, and you convince yourself, like in any kind of fraternity, to be loyal and to every hardship you went through was because you need to be grateful for this moment. Whether or not you see, some people see it and they just convince themselves that like it's fine, everything is fine, and you see that happening to like your ego being stroked at like grad shows. It happens in everyday life too. Like, so when you go to lunch and you're in this area, this like Glendale Burbank area,
pay close attention to what people's badges are, especially in the downtown Burbank area.
Yes, because they wear it on their pants.
Yeah.
They like clip it to the front of their pants.
And the only reason why I gave you that idea from grad show is because I've seen so many people do it. And then, for example, so when I explained this to you, you said like, oh, I actually put it there because it's just easy.
Yeah.
And which, that's true.
Yeah.
But like, for example, when we were getting pho.
Oh yeah. So when you do clip it somewhere where it's very easy to notice this badge dangling from your clothes, other people will notice, and occasionally other people will treat you special because of it, because they think you're somebody in Hollywood. So we were getting pho, and then I had it like dangling on my pants, and this lady our server was like, oh, you work at Disney? Do you know so-and-so? And like, I have a friend that works there, and like really treating us different. And it does not make me feel good. Yeah. Like sometimes you get discounts because of it. Sometimes like people treat you better because of it. And I've been treated really badly without it. And then when I do wear it, it's like night and day. Yeah. And it's like so if you're ever in like downtown Burbank, you should probably like look around and see who is wearing their badges for everyone to see, and why do you think they're doing that? I'm not saying for me, I was doing it because it's easy to like get back in. Like I've forgotten it on my desk before if I don't put it on my clothes, and then I have to like prove that I work there in order to get back inside. So it's easier for me, but like for a lot of people, it's like the only reason I know that we get discounts if you wear it sometimes is because this other person, like a veteran in animation I was talking to, was like, oh, if you, in the same tone, did you know that if you wear your badge on that strip, everyone's going to give you like 10%, 15% discounts? And I was like, what? No way. When I was like a really green. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then like 4 years into it, I'm like, this is disgusting.
And it's also like, think about this. A lot of you people who live in the LA County area, you've seen somebody who works at Disney.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you've seen somebody who works at Disney? Because the people who work at Disney make it very, very, very known that they work at Disney.
Yeah.
Like, you see them just stroll into like whatever, like sushi shop or whatever it is, and it's just like full garb.
Yeah.
Not even just a little bit. Not even
hat.
just like a hat.
Yeah.
It's always like a hat and the jacket, or like a jacket and a big old badge or a pin or something.
Yeah. And like, I just realized this is the case at conventions too.
Right.
Like, if you don't go to art school, you don't live here, whatever. It happens at conventions. Like, they're the industry people who look like are in their plain clothes, and like we will say hi to them because we know who they are. And they don't really want us to. They just want to be a normal human being out in the world. But then there are the people who wear their whole getup. They wear the Disney pin. They wear the jacket. They wear the badge. They
make sure the badge is on like the lanyard they have that they're wearing, so it's like impossible to miss, with Disney buttons on it.
Yeah, and this is not something that I realized before, but like we did conventions before we were hired in animation,
right.
And whenever I would see that, I would go like, oh, it's they just want to let everyone know like who they are for the good of us, which is so naive. They were not showing me that they work at Disney so that I know to ask them for work or whatever.
Right.
They were like, so like we still go to conventions, and sometimes we'll see our friends or we'll see certain people in the full getup. What we think now when we see that is like, oh, no. It's kind of awkward when we see each other and like we notice that they're wearing their whole thing. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Are you here for work? Usually not. And then it's just weird and awkward. We're just kind of like, hey. And they're like, hey. And they're like, oh, God. They saw me wear the whole thing and they know exactly what I'm doing.
We're on to you.
Yeah.
So definitively, answer this. Do you get preferential treatment when you wear studio garb?
Yes.
In Los Angeles?
You do.
Okay. So think long and hard, everybody, when you see somebody who wears studio garb out there in the streets.
Most sane people, I think, don't want to.
I don't think so. Yeah. And even if they did, I feel like it, they grow out of it.
Yeah. It's like fun at first.
Yes, at first.
Because, like, what do you think that does to a person's self-esteem when like you were nobody and then you finally made it, and then suddenly people are treating you like you're much more important than you actually are.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get addicted to that feeling.
Helps your ego and gives you like an extra barrier that's like absolutely free. Most people kind of like work out or build a really strong discipline regime of like practicing or like staying really healthy and eating right, and that builds confidence.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of a fake thing.
Yeah.
You work for somewhere where people, it's not that you are held in high esteem, it's the place you work for is held in high esteem, but you're kind of cheating in that way where like you get to have this protective barrier around your ego where you didn't really, it's
like it's not real because they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Most of the time they're not industry professionals that treat you special. They're just laymen who think, oh, I met some important person from Disney today, and like you're not. You're just like a scrub or cog in a wheel or whatever. And so like I don't know what it is about us that for us we felt disgusting. And for other people, they're really seduced by it, and it kind of validates all the hard work that you put in, even if it like people don't care about you because they don't know who you are. They care that you work at the studio you work for.
Yeah.
They don't assess any kind of a talent to that assign. I mean, but this, leads to ego in the workplace too. And I want to talk about censorship and agendas.
Oh my.
And
this is 4th of July week.
Yeah, it is.
So
there you
go.
Happy 4th of July podcast episode where I talk about censorship and
in
agendas.
The American animation industry.
So I don't think it would be very good for me to just tell you it exists. I'll just explain some stories that I have. I was working on this one show that shall not be named, but it's like a children's TV show where, most of them are like team character setups where like there's no real like one main character. It's like kind of sort of one main character and a bunch of friends. And usually, and you've watched these kind of cartoons, you know that like every character usually has like their episode. To showcase their character arc or whatever they're about. This episode that we were working on was this one, like the main character's character episode. And this was like a male character, and we were working on it, and then one of the storyboard artists on the show was very clearly the favorite of the showrunner. It's not like she was a favorite, let's just say that. And this is like an open office setup, shouts across the room for everyone in this like side of the building can hear as the showrunner / writer walked by. Hey, I need to talk to you about changing the script. I think we need to make the female character the center of the story. And I just told you, every single character has their episode. This female character she was pointing out had her episode. It would make no story sense to suddenly change it to this female character in the show. And I'm pretty sure they did it because she was the favorite. Because like, for those of you who don't know, storyboard artists don't have that much creative control over like the writing of a show. And like, for that to happen, that's not a normal thing. You think that's normal, but like, oh, what's wrong with like a exchange of ideas or like discussing about it? There are like, what, 4 other storyboarders. If I did that, I can't just go, hey, I think, who am I to tell the writer to change the whole entire script because of what I believe. That's not something that happens. And so because of favoritism, because of all these things, she had that kind of power.
Would you say that a lot of poor decisions that you see in entertainment consistently in the past, like at least 3 or 4 years, are being made because of situations like these?
Yes. Another story that I have is on this show that I was going to be hired on. It was an Asian American female-centric show. And I can't really say more about it than that, but I realized I was going to be hired because when I was interviewed for it, I had no idea what the show looked like, and I wasn't sure if I was right for the show or not. And then I saw what it looked like and the style of storyboarding and the style of the show. I was like, why did they ask me to be on this show? Because my storyboards do not seem like they suit this show. I'm more of like an acting / action board artist. Like, it doesn't make sense for this style. And then I realized I was being hired simply because I'm an Asian American female. And I felt very like, this isn't right. This is bizarre. I thought I would be hired on my talents, not because of what I am, what I just happen to be. So yeah, agendas. They exist. If you don't believe me, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it's hard not to believe you when you see the sorry state our entertainment industry is now.
Yeah.
I can't say that anything I've seen has been remotely at least somewhat good, you know?
Yeah.
and it's starting to become more and more hopeless for me, and it just seems like this is just how it's going to be 2 or 3 years until, I don't know, people shape up. I don't know what it is. The world shape. I don't know what it is.
All of this is happening, and like everyone's patting themselves on the back. Everyone thinks they're doing such a great job with their shows or whatever, and especially like on DuckTales, for example. Like in a previous episode, I talked about how we have these like all hands meetings where it felt like I was just wasting my time congratulating other people. And that would happen week after week. And one of the things that they would do is they would like report on like the news that was reporting on us.
Right.
They would talk about like, we were written about in this publication today, and they gave us rave reviews or whatever. I think one time it was like, Entertainment Weekly wrote about us and gave us an A+. And that, the reason why I remember that one in particular is because the weekend right before that meeting, we were at a convention. And we decided to try out this thing where we have a little tip jar.
Yeah.
And you had one and I had one.
Yeah.
And we wrote the shows that we worked on and put it on it and asked people to tell us with their tips which show is better. Which one do you think is better? And all the tips went to you. And I understood because I didn't like the show I was working on, to be honest. I was really excited to be working on it, and I had such high hopes for it. But when I started actually watching the show, it was just kind of boring. It's a beautiful show, but it's just kind of boring. It didn't entertain me. So I understood, like, I've seen your show. Your show makes me die laughing.
Yes.
So I knew, like, I'm pretty sure you're going to win. But the only time I ever got tips were from people who were nostalgic about the OG DuckTales,
Right.
who have never watched the DuckTales that I was working on. And they were tipping me because of their feelings of nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I came back from that convention, like, understanding that, like, my show's whatever, that's fine. And to hear in this meeting how everyone loves our show, we got an A+. I was like, does everyone love our show? Does anyone watch our show? Everyone we asked that during the convention. It was a big LA convention.
So you're getting this cognitive dissonance. You're like at, this LA convention, people,
yeah,
like in LA, like people, families, all sorts of stuff.
Kids.
The kids.
They don't know
the demographic that
yeah.
they're targeting.
Yeah.
Are tipping my show up the wazoo.
Yeah, and they have no idea what my show is.
They have no idea what your show is.
They don't watch it. They don't care about it.
But their parents are always like, oh, what?
Yeah. So I was like, okay.
Oh, they also go, you couldn't have worked on, like, you couldn't have worked on DuckTales.
Because they're assuming I worked on, like, the original one. I'm like, no, there's a new one. And they're like, what? And there is?
And then meanwhile, after the convention's over, because we're insane people, we do conventions over the weekend, we go back to work.
Yeah.
You go back to work, and they're like, "Oh, our show's doing great on TV Guide."
It's doing so great. And I'm like, I don't know. Everyone, like the tens of hundreds of people I just talked to, who live here in LA, who would be super who have kids. I've met their kids. They're all telling me they're not watching the show. What is going on here? Why am I here? Like, every single day I ask that to myself at work. So
I'm sure you're not the only one.
So there's this huge disconnect between, like, reality, like conventions, and, like, what I was experiencing at work. The agendas and the weird, like, patting yourselves on the back, even though your show really isn't doing so hot. I was just kind of like, something is wrong here. You're, like, drinking the Koolaid. You're convincing yourself we're doing good work when we're not. And, like, so it's like Emmy season, right?
Oh, no.
And when I say convincing yourself that you're doing good work when you're not, like, I am making fun of myself right now. Like you don't understand. Everything I throw at animation, I'm criticizing myself at the same time because I was in it, obviously.
You're complicit.
Yeah,
in all of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
I'm still complicit.
yeah, and so, like, when I say we're doing mediocre work, we are doing mediocre work. And I don't think I was doing amazing work at the time. Even now, like, I'm just trying my best. And so during Emmy season, Annie Award season, the Oscars, whatever, we all get company emails that you're not supposed to do this, by the way. It's not really allowed. But we all get company emails telling us the ones that are in the academy, in the whatever, like, and you have to pay, and there's like a process to be eligible to vote for these things. We're all told to vote for the company. Whatever the company is nominated for this show, for that show, even if we've never watched it, just vote for the company, so that it's a political game.
How does your vote even count if you're not even, like, I don't understand how that works.
If you are in the academy, or like you pay to be part of this voting party or whatever, if the company convinces enough members of their own company to vote for their own stuff, then that company will win that award. So I held out hope for a really long time that things like the Oscars and the Emmys and all this stuff was legitimate, until I got emails from every single studio I've ever worked for, at work, like my company work email. I would get these emails when the time would come. It didn't matter what company I worked for. It's like the one that I worked for at the time is going to tell me to vote for them. And it's just like, I realized, like, oh, these Emmys, they don't mean anything. These awards, they don't mean anything. It truly is like...
It truly is Ricky Gervais's speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there's like this weird sense of reality of like you like clawed your way up here, and you convinced yourself that it was worth it. And they give you these bribes. They're kind of nice. Food, free drinks, parties.
I got a free bandana.
And I'm like, oh, look at them. Bribing you again. I gave you so much shit when it came.
She did. She gave me hell to pay. Oh, God.
I was like, you're drinking the Koolaid. And like all of this, the smoke and mirrors, they work so hard to convince you of these things and to make you happy, to keep you happy. And for someone like me, I'm still fairly young, and I remember what it's like you guys can clearly tell, we're really empathetic to the art school experience because we remember what it's like. We're young enough to, at least, but we have the experience of like remembering also what it's like to get hired for the first time. And then now I've realized all of this at a young enough age to have all those experiences and memories so clearly in my head, while also just being fed up with it, knowing like, oh, this is all fake and nothing means anything and everything's mediocre, and I don't know. You go through this phase where you're just, I don't know. You don't know what to do with yourself.
And I've had talks with there's a lot of talks I've had, and it's weird because when I first got in, a lot of my friends who have been in for about 6 months to a year were feeling like this sort of depression or something.
Yeah.
This I could just sense, and I could just sense that like things were just off. And then a lot of my friends would confide in me and like just ask me these questions of like, are you happy? And then I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, I just got hired, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then, it would just seem that they're lost. And now that I've been in it for about 3 years, going on 4, I still love this, but I can understand why, you work so hard for this one thing, and you get sold that it's this thing that's going to change your life, and you're going to get so much amazing stuff out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go through it, and it's just like, no, it's really not as crazy as you think it is.
Yeah.
The free stuff that you get is nice, but then in the back of your mind, you always think like, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And then you do the work, and you're happy, but then you think like, I go into an office every day, and it's kind of not that different from what I assume other jobs are.
Other office jobs.
So the disconnect of like thinking, like seeing those Pixar like behind the scenes things where they're like scootering and skateboarding all across the studio and all that stuff, it's just like, you just like, honestly, you just come in, you do good work, you say hi to your friends, and you work with really nice people, and then you go home.
Yeah.
Like guys, that's all this is. Like, I don't know what the the glory and the smoke and the mirrors, like I don't know what Kool-Aid everyone else is drinking, but like lately, especially lately now that we've been working from home, it really is just that.
Yeah.
We're just doing work.
You just draw cartoons, and we think we're somebody because of it.
Amazing work, but I'm not gonna go as far as to say that people should line up and kiss my fucking feet or something over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how like a lot of people I see on social media act.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, why are you acting like this? I know you just work in an office. like I know you have almost zero say in what show you're representing, or whatever you have on your Twitter bio or your Instagram bio. Yet you're acting like you're like the sheriffs of downtown Burbank or something like that. Like, what's going on? You even have a badge to prove, like, what's going on here? And like I've gone like I get it. Like we talked about, we've gone through the phase of like, how could I not indulge myself for at least a year or so?
Mm-hmm.
And we went to like some like kind of rap parties and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like honestly fun. Like hang out with people. But then it's like, at the end of the day, it's just a job.
Yeah.
And I really think the hype and the celebritism and all that stuff is like, I want people to enjoy and love the work and not the scummy shit that comes along with it.
That's the difference between this job and other jobs. Like, it's not just a job. Like, it is, but then there's all that other weird stuff that just does not happen in other jobs, like the bribes and the all the stuff that we had just explained. That doesn't happen in other jobs. You don't just, like, in other jobs you might get a badge. People don't treat you different because of that badge. You know what I mean? And like, so like, remember back to like the start of this podcast of what it is to be a young person who wants to do a job doing what they love one day, to like make a difference in the world, to make good art, to make money with your art, period, to like just humble beginnings. And you see them transform through school, and then again through
being in the Hollywood system thing.
And then when you, at least for me, being seduced by all of that, and being somewhere along the way, you realize like this isn't really what I signed up for. If you have that in you to realize, to like come to terms with that, like you wonder like, oh, I mean, like, these gifts are nice, and this promise of power or creative control or whatever,
the promise of one day you'll be in a higher position making a lot of money
is nice, I guess, like something to chase after. And all these things, you wonder like, but that wasn't really what I didn't do this for necessarily the money. I didn't necessarily do this for the fame, for people to treat me like the way they treat me when I wear my badge. I didn't necessarily do this for any of that. I didn't ask for that, and it's turning me into this person or thing that I don't want to be. And that's when I think people realize I either stick it out and do my side hustle for as long as I can before I can leave, or I leave. And we've seen so many people who, like, both, like, I've gotten a lot of emails from people who have left and are fine now. Like, they're happy now. And then I've also seen a lot of people in the industry, and also, like, comments, I guess, from older people telling me that, like, I should shut up, sit down, and do my side hustle on the side like they do. And I go, I've seen you. I've seen people like you. And I respect people like you, but when are you going to leave?
Yeah.
Because you're much older than me. You've been saying you're doing the side hustle thing.
Hoping that it will turn into something that will be your main hustle.
Yeah.
When's that going to be?
When are you actually going to have skin in the game?
Right.
And, like, leave. Like, you think you hadn't saved enough money after, like, 20 years and working to leave?
And go all in on this thing.
That you actually want to do.
Give a shit about.
Yeah. Like, you know how many people in the industry are really unhappy. Just look at how everyone has their side hustle. If your job fulfilled you, you wouldn't have that because your job fulfills you.
Yeah.
So, like, everyone has their side hustle. Everyone actually wants to leave. And I'm just like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. Like, for example, for me, the show I'm working on is great. I love it. And other than, like, the little kind of hobbies I have, like playing guitar, reading, watching movies with you, I still, like, try my best to do a really good job. And lately I've been showing, I'm not supposed to, but I mean, come on, we're all working from home. How the hell is this supposed to work without this happening? You've seen what I've been doing, and you go like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I've even showed you something, and you were like, you did that? And I was like, wow, my girlfriend almost never says that to me. So, like, what I'm trying to say is I'm very, very fulfilled by the work. Like, I'm at the point where, like, I just want to, like I said so many times in other podcasts, just want to rest and enjoy my my life. Yeah. And I don't really have any side hustles. I do love helping you, but, like, that's not my skin in the game. The skin I have is, like, trying to find, like, peace and happiness in just, like, the simple everyday shit. Because it felt like when we were coming up that we constantly were running towards this goalpost. And even past when I got the job that I've always wanted to have, basically, I still kept running. And then I'm here now in my, like, the twilight of my 20s. I'm 29, going like, okay, I'm here. I'm happy with the job I have. Let's take some time to rest. And that's what I'm doing. And, like, I can honestly say, like, I am somebody who works in the industry who's just happy to work, and who just enjoys what I do. I love working with really talented people. I'm always really impressed and shocked by what we get, like the animatic, like the what do you call it? The rough animation stuff with my backgrounds on it and stuff. And I always, like, it blows me away. And, like, I tell you all this stuff, and it really is unimpressive to you. It really is. But to me, it tickles me. It really does. It really does, going like, oh, I really tried hard adding, like, a nice little rim light or reflection here. Or I did, like, this really subtle thing to make it really look nice. And it's on screen. Like, those decisions are there. Like, they're up there for everyone to see. Yeah. And that is enough for me. For right now. Maybe, like, when I rest up a little bit and chill out, I'll have the yearn to do something outside of animation. But right now I'm just chilling. Yeah.
But meanwhile, like, before I left, everyone talked about their side hustles. Like, the directors would be like, oh, I'm starting a Patreon, or, oh, I'm working on writing my comic book, or I made a comic book, or there's this new pitch idea. Hopefully Disney will pick it up, or whatever. And it's like everyone's just yearning so hard to be able to do what they actually want to do. And honestly, after having left and after having done it and seeing my income increase every month, and
what does it feel like?
It's like, it's not as scary as I think everyone thinks it is.
Guys, she's doing this at literally the worst time in our lifetime. like I've never witnessed such a such a dire time in my lifetime than now. It's really dire. It's not so great.
Pandemic.
Yeah. So it's amazing what you've been able to accomplish. Like, it really is.
In a very short amount of time. And like, if an idiot like me can do it.
If idiots like us, guys, this is just microphones, a computer, and another camera. Like, this isn't rocket science, guys. Go, like, quit and do what you love.
Yeah, because you won't know how normal it was to be sitting at work and to just overhear people complain about their failed marriages or their impending divorce and how no one actually spends much time with their kids.
Are people in animation happy?
No. I would have to say no. And it's very creepy the way everyone puts on a fake smile every single day and pretend everything's okay. Meanwhile, when you're like me, you can kind of see the internal struggle that's going on in everyone walking by, and everyone looks kind of like zombies, and it's just, yeah. It's, yeah, so, I don't know, maybe take your life into your own hands, like I have, and make plans to leave.
Yeah.
And it's not so scary once you do it. You gotta work really hard, but it's just like, would you have it any other way with that young artist going to art school or like trying to figure out how to make a living doing this? Would they have it any other way, or are you a shill and you enjoy this fame and power and all this bullshit that I just talked about? Anyways, that's it for this episode.
No. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I really want to stress that, like, guys, we always say it's a long life.
Yeah.
So please, don't spend it doing something you don't really like.
Yeah.
You know, like, everyone has to have a period of grinding and making sure they have enough savings. Yes, obviously, and they have to like work for whoever they need to work for in order to make that happen. But once you've gotten that, what's stopping you? Like, I don't like seeing like a lot, and I don't like talking to a lot of like the older cats at work just talk about like all the amazing ideas they have, like setting up their own Etsy full of amazing hand-painted D&D stuff, or some people want to grow pot, some people want to like go and break into like different kinds of industries. Like, so many people just have so many different ideas, and I just really am sad that like they're saying this as they're like working in one of the biggest studios in the world. And it's like, I'm like, it's like a lot of people are they would kill to be here, and it sucks that I'm here and I see other people and they're dying to be somewhere else.
Yeah. It's sad. It's really sad because they have all the talent in the world to do it. They worked at Disney. They made it to this career. Don't you think you have more than what you need to be able to do it on your own?
Right.
So yeah.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this podcast. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Hollywood. I guess.
I guess. Please. It helps out the podcast. Share with your friends, because that is how this podcast grows.
Word of mouth.
Yeah, subscribe to the channel for more episodes about art, business, and whatever we feel like. And follow us on Honey and Absinthe at Instagram, TikTok, all the places. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.